So pranam again, Milana.
Pranam, Dr. Chinmay. So good to see you. How are you?
I am absolutely perfect. Delighted to be in the surroundings of Sanskritti Vishwavidyalaya in this challenging time of Corona pandemic. So everyone is safe and well here. Also, I'm very happy that the number of cases are slowly reducing on the Indian side too.
This is very good to hear.
Compared to the size of the country, we had number of cases coming and now they are slowly going towards the downside.
Okay, these are the great news. Okay, so before we head on, I would like to introduce you to the audience. I was very interested by the term consciousness-based education. This university, as I could see and visit, my very deep gratitude. You have also the Baltic Institute in the campus as well.
It's very difficult to fathom the kind of work and vision that he had. I mean, if we try to imagine a personality who for 42 years of his life was in absolute solitude, and in remaining 38 years he wrote 3,400 books. Imagine 3,400 books, and established the entire fraternity with 100 million members, 5,000 centers. It's like one person working for 500 people at the same time, and had a very beautiful, remarkable, futuristic vision. And one of the remarkable accomplishments of the university that also came from his vision, which was very simple. He said that if we are only giving a degree and nothing else, then we are not better than a photocopy machine. Who would make good human beings? So he created with that vision, and it's a free education here. We don't take the tuition fee. Food is free. But in return, every student has to work free for the society before they get their qualifications and degrees. And one of the unique endeavors of the university was to establish the Asia's first center for Baltic culture and studies. It's the only center of Baltic culture and studies.
Yeah, and me personally, when I came to India, it was 2008. 19. Yes, 19th, yes, with an invitation from your side, which was very interesting to watch how the university itself functions, because the university, I would like to emphasize that to our Western minds, we are not used to study IT or mathematics as you do as a profession. So we have a profession and that's all, right? So you have skills and knowledge. And I emphasize the word knowledge. It has nothing to do with wisdom or ability to live life from my perspective as I see it. And the interesting thing in Sanskritti University was that it felt like profession was something as a key to learn, as a normal thing to learn, and above is this umbrella of philosophy and ethics of how to live life and how to flow through life and how to be life, right? So this is something that was surprisingly astonishing, and it felt like, oh yes, it has to be this way. It has to be, educational system has to be this way in the West as well.
Absolutely, because we are teaching everything else, but if we don't teach them to be a good human being, then whatever they are learning, it would be futile at some point. Like, if I don't get the contentment, if I don't feel that my life has got a meaning and purpose, then I may acquire wealth, I may acquire respectful positions, But if I don't have respect for myself, then whatever actually I gather outside would be absolutely meaningless. So this is the central, premise of the university as well as the main organization, to offer that to the individual. And even in the central temple of the ashram that we have only half a kilometer from here, the main message that Gurudev left on the central temple was everything is free, return with a purpose. We give everything to every single person walking in, from any race, religion, caste, creed, absolutely free. He said, but in return, at least take a purpose from here. Then it would be something meaningful.
Is this good intention? And it seems like it's educating young adults also to have the real purpose and the real intention of why you are doing this job.
Exactly. If we are able to do whatever has been given to us with absolute devotion, sincerity, earnestness, devotion, then that simple job would give so much direction to the other people. If you don't mind me sharing a story, then I would love to share the story.
We love your stories.
It's a very remarkable story because she was a very powerful queen in the 17th and 18th century. And she became queen at a very young age of 14 years, because she was a teenager. She became a queen because her father died. And the people around, because everyone thought that 14-year-old girl is now the head of this big state. So everyone wanted to capture it. But she was so feisty. She was such a strong lady, still remembered for her great devotion and valor. So she established the entire kingdom. It became the biggest kingdom of the middle part of India in those days. But because of that, she could not study, and she really wanted to study. So she said to one of her, teachers, she said, I really wanted to study but could not study. And one of her desire was to study the epic of India called Bhagavad Gita, one of the foundation of spiritual texts of India. She said there are 700 verses, verses, Sanskrit verses in Gita. And she said that I won't be able to remember all of them. If you teach me one by one verse in a day, then maybe in 2 years' time, I would be able to learn everything. She said, so teacher said, yeah, I will do that. So teacher came with the Gita. And he opened the book and he said, okay, the first verse comes from the Dhritarashtra, who is actually the villain of this story. So he's the most negative character. And he speaks and he says, Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samveta Yutsava Mamakaha Pandavasyaiva Kim Kurvat Sandhya. He said that in the field of Kurukshetra, where the battle is being fought, my children and the children of Pandu, what are they doing? Tell me. And that's the only thing he said. And Maharani Holkar said, I understood the whole Gita. So teacher was surprised. He said that Maharani Queen, he said that probably you misunderstood. There are 699 more verses. This is not the end of it. And the Lord Krishna, is yet to speak. He would speak only in the, second chapter. So we are in the first chapter, in the first verse. She said, no, say it again. What did you say? So he said, Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre. She said, stop. And you are saying Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre. I am hearing Kshetre Kshetre Dharmam Kuru. Whatever field has been given to you, do it right. She said, that's the foundation of spirituality. That's the only thing I understand. And I think that's the only thing for everyone to understand, that if we are a citizen, become a good citizen. We are a brother, become a good brother. We are a father, become a good father. We are a mother, become a good mother. Whatever role and responsibility has been given to us, we do it rightly. Satisfaction, contentment, meaning, purpose, motive, everything blesses upon us. India and Lithuania share a very special connection. Very special connection, and you would be surprised to see, how much there is common between, two countries in terms of the language. Because I think everyone, wherever you go in Lithuania, you would know that the similarity between Sanskrit and Lithuanian is like one of the foundation. of any kind of discussion.
Yes.
And there was a very famous French philologist, Antoine Millet. He said that if you want to hear how our Indo-European ancestors used to talk, then go and speak to a Lithuanian farmer.
This is funny. I haven't heard that.
And it is so true because, the words that are so common. There was such a funny thing. I think there was a gentleman called Kazimierz, I am forgetting the last name, in 1929. He published a book on Lithuanian grammar, but he called it Kalbos Sanskrita.
Kalbos?
Like K-A-L-B.
Kalbos is a language.
Kalbos.
Yes.
So he is actually writing a book for Lithuanian grammar, but naming it Kalbos Sanskrita. The first time I went, it absolutely felt home because, smaller things, more than language, I think the culture, the value systems, the spiritual beliefs, the tradition, even the sacredness of the fire. The way, the people in India and the way people in Lithuania, that's the other only country I have found where there is so much sacred value associated with the fire, and that is uncanny. This kind of resemblance and this kind of commonality is beyond comprehension, because even the word, the word, say you have been here and every morning you would see the yajna ceremony being done, fire ceremony, which you were kind enough to post. I did at your place.
With my
8 times to do the yajna, and it was unbelievable that on one occasion I think we had more than 100 people and it was -3 degrees or -5 degrees outside. So
it was a big event.
Big event. So a big event respecting the sacredness of the fire, and that kind of the same thing, because the word in Sanskrit is yajna vedi. And Vedi is the same thing. You call it Vedila. The sacred fire is called Vedila. It is so, when I took part in the ceremony that was being done by the traditional Lithuanian priests, because Lithuania was one of the last nations to be Christianized. So still, the older traditions are being respected. And when I went to take part in one of the ceremonies, they were washing their hands, washing their faces before approaching the fire. Same like that we do in India. It is special and so important, that this connection, because fire to us is a messenger between this and the other realms of consciousness, and the importance of that is so clearly felt when you take part in these kind of exceptional and unique and extraordinary ceremonies.
It is from my perspective, of course, which might be subjective, but I do feel like after 30 years of independence, we are now rediscovering our roots. So basically, 25 years was more or less washing the old skin, right? The one that never belonged to us, and it seems like the nation is coming back to its roots, and we do have a lot of spiritual practices, pagan, Indian, Vedic, very different approaches, but it seems like people are also coming back to the roots and experimenting with other methods, but at the end of the day, it seems like people want to, and sincerely want to become awake, to open their eyes and see the truth and live the truth.
And the current times are telling us so profoundly, the current times of the corona pandemic, if it has taught us one thing, it taught us that there is a limit to all the technological supremacy, that you can't conquer the nature. And one thing that you were saying, and I was just thinking absolutely right, because in the last century, the world has shifted so much, there is a paradigm shift of the consciousness has taken place.
Yes.
We had 3 kind of ideologies in the last century. We had a much more authoritarian, dictatorial kind of ideology, and with the end of Second World War, that was gone. And world was divided in either like, communist or socialist model or capitalist and consumeristic model. Came the end of the Soviet Union and the Berlin Wall was gone, and the second was gone too. Only liberal kind of like capitalist model was left, and then with the 9/11 and the economical crash of 2008, that was also gone. So it's the first time that people are somehow forced to go deep inside and find the purpose, like, that we are not governed by the dominant ideologies anymore. We have to find our own idea, that we have to find the way I exist on this planet, and that's the fundamental question.
And it seems that coronavirus brought us lots of lessons, the ones that we really need to learn. And basically, I sometimes, it's they say sarcasm is the worst form of humor, but we got everything we needed. Being at home more, which usually we are just running around all that, staying with our families. We wanted that, we got it, right? We also say these sentences like, I want to stay alone, I want to stay home, I want to rest, I want to be with myself, and here it is, right? So you get everything you want. Seems like, and these are the lessons that we have to learn, and these are the lessons that I guess can really move us towards the more optimal way of living in every sense.
Exactly, like in economy there is a theory of diminished returns, that if I am buying my first pair of shoes, then they give me the excitement that I'm buying with my first paycheck, and I'm trying to buy it, and you feel very happy and excited about it. By the second it goes a little, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then after a while people are just purchasing the shoes with no idea why they are purchasing it. There is no return coming to us. It's the theory of diminished return. However, if we give that pair of shoes to someone else for whom it is the first pair of shoe, then we get the same excitement that we got when we purchased the first one.
And actually, lots of research. Sorry to interrupt you. Lots of research has been done. The hedonic happiness, even in psychology. I will not remember right now how exactly it is called, but the hedonic happiness has this tendency of shortening. Like if you got candy now, you're happy for for 2 coming hours because this was your first candy in life. But once you start repeating the candy-like experience, this period of happiness is being dramatically reduced until most of them becomes like our addictions and habits. It can be destructive and constructive, but still it becomes our automatic system of how we live our daily lives without even thinking about it and without even considering. And instead, the eudaimonia, the other side of the happiness, the flip coin, is the eudaimonia, which is definitely the one that we are seeking, and lots of, again, research has been done that people are really more happy and truly happy when they support one another and help one another. This is what makes us happy.
Exactly, like Viktor Frankl, the famous psychoanalyst and psychotherapist, he wrote a famous book called In the Search of Meaning. And he said a very beautiful thing. He said that for long we have been dreaming a dream from which we are just waking up. A dream that if we just give money to everyone, then they would be miraculously happy. So he said the truth is that once the struggle for survival gets subsided, then the real questions of life become important. That survival for what? Now people have means to live, but no meaning to live for. So that's the thing, and that's the beauty that I find in Lithuania, because Lithuania, like you started to say, that after this time, the roots are returning back, and that was one of the main reasons for us to establish this Baltic Center here in the Dev Sanskriti Vishwavidyalaya, because the quest for meaning that we find in Lithuania is the same thing in Indian tradition.
what psychological impact the lockdown has on our brains, on our mental condition, on our psychology, on how we feel. I guess it's a question about the global anxiety which is in the air. It's pulsing, all the time.
I think one of the major things that we face and feel is that we have trained ourselves, the almost entire human race, to live with predictable outcomes. Like, I know if I come out of my house, I really don't have to speak to another person. I can go follow the signs, I can take a tube, I can go to my work, I can come back if I have to do. If I decide not to speak to another human soul, I can live completely without him. I can do my shopping, I can do my banking, I can do everything else. And everything is based on a predictable kind of outcome, I know. So that gives me a kind of sense of security inside that I can manage. I am in control, I am in command. And it's been taken away. Like so much unpredictability that brings the insecurity and that brings the, undoing feeling. The reason pandemic actually affected people much more because there was so much of uncertainty involved. Yeah. We have got bigger illnesses than corona, people getting cancer every day, people are getting tumors every day, new class, malignancies, HIV, even from the same family of the coronavirus family, SARS and MERS, they had a mortality rate of 34% and 9.4%, which is 33 times bigger than corona. So of course, when God knows how many millions are affected, same number of millions are also getting better. So the fraction of who are getting affected by it in terms of mortality are less. But what is worrying people is this sense of uncertainty, when it's going to end, how it's going to end, and all this kind of situational chaos that comes to my life because of that. What it teaches us psychologically, of course, the reason for chaos is there. What it teaches us is that we have to find a solution, or if we have to find a solution, then rather than going outside, going inside is the solution. Because I can't change the circumstances, but changing the mindset is in my hand. I can't stop the rain, but I can open my umbrella. Or I can't remove every single stone from the road, but I can have better shoes. So if I change the way I look at the situation,
you become more resilient. And resilience, it's the term, I think, for this period as well.
Yeah, because we try to resist, and resistance is futile because we have no idea with whom we are trying to resist. But resilience is the right way. You have the resilience, then no matter how hard and how difficult and critical the circumstances are, you would sail through. Yeah. You would sail through. Because it all depends upon the mindset. Out of the problem, 90% of the problem is created in the mind. It depends upon how we have imagined it in our head. I don't tell you one very funny story. Once actually we were going, not funny but ironic rather. So we were going and there was an accident on the way from Haridwar to Delhi. We were driving. And then we all stopped because the accident looked very dreadful. And then we saw a lady, she was crying like anything. So we thought that she was inside the accident. Mm-hmm. So we all could help her, gave her water and thought she was reasonably intact, nothing happened. So we were saying, blessed, nothing happened. And then we saw a guy who was laughing like anything. And we thought, what happened? So this was the guy inside the car and he was so happy, he was like nothing happened. And the other person who saw the accident, she was almost she lost her life. So we can be inside an earthquake but happy like anything, or we may have lost the wallet and we think it's the end of the world. So it just depends how we look at the situation.